Welcome to Get Real with Alexis Jones. On this podcast, we'll dive into real relationships with real people guided by the wisdom and perspective of some of the most seasoned voices in our community, our beloved seniors. Each week, we'll unpack the joys, challenges, and lessons learned about love, family, friendship, and everything in between. This is a space for heartfelt conversations, eye-opening truths, and powerful stories that will inspire and challenge the way you think about relationships. We're keeping it honest, unfiltered, and deeply meaningful. So settle in and let's get ready to get real. Let's jump in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Get Real with Alexis. I'm your host, Alexis. Today is going to be a little different. Usually I sit behind this microphone to interview someone or share information, have a conversation with you. I want to have a conversation with two men who changed my life forever, my sons. One I can still call on the telephone. One I can only call in my heart. One is here. One is in heaven, but both are my sons. And so today I want to speak directly to Herman and Brandon. And as I do, I hope every father listening hears something that encourages them, challenges them, and reminds them of how much they matter. Because whether you realize it or not, fathers leave footprints that last for generations. So to Herman, my firstborn, my beautiful boy, even saying your name today still fills my heart. There are some people who pass through life, and there are some people who leave pieces of themselves everywhere they go. You were the second kind. You were and you are gifted. You're talented, brilliant, but what I remember most is not your talents. It's your heart. You had a way of making people feel seen because you heard them. You were generous in ways that often went unnoticed. You gave your time, you gave your attention, you gave your love, and you gave it freely. You were a father to Gabe, and what a gift that was. Your son got to experience your kindness, your humor, your creativity, your generosity, and your enormous heart. Now, Herman, I have to tell at least one story, because if we only cry, people won't know how much fun you were. You had a way of doing things your own way. I often described you as marching to the beat of a different drummer, to marching to the beat of your own drummer. You always kept me on my toes. You always kept me guessing. You always kept me on my knees. Sometimes I'd ask you to do something, and somehow the final result looked nothing like what I had in mind. I remember when you came home from middle school and confidently proclaimed that you wanted to play the viola in the school orchestra. I looked at you in complete bewilderment and I said, Herman, you want to play what? You responded excitedly and confidently, clearly, calmly, I want to play the viola, Mom. I knew violin, but I had no idea about a viola. However, you were unwavering because when you made up your mind about something, about anything, it was impossible to make you change your mind. When people ask me about you, Herman, the first thing I think about is not what you did, but who you were. You were gifted, exceptionally gifted. You were a talented violist whose music filled the room with a sound that seemed to penetrate the soul. Music wasn't just something you played. It was part of who you were, whether on stage, in worship, or simply sharing your gift with others. Music flowed through you. But as gifted as you were musically, your greatest gift, as I said, was your heart. You loved people, you loved God, you loved your family, and we all knew it. You were a worshiper, but you didn't just play and lead songs. Your faith wasn't something you talked about only on Sundays. It was woven into the way you lived your life. One thing that always amazed me about you, Herman, was how many different people loved you. People from every walk of life, different ages, different backgrounds, different experiences, old and young, and somehow every one of them felt valued in your presence. You had a way of making people feel important. When you walked into a room, when you talked to someone, they felt seen. When you listened, they felt heard. When you cared, they knew it was genuine. That's a rare gift, and that's who you were. That's who you are. And it's one of the reasons so many people still miss you today. There was one thing about you that started very early in life. You were, these are my words, painfully independent. I learned that when you were a little boy. I wanted to teach you, for example, to ride your bicycle. Most children want someone holding onto the back seat and encouraging them along the way. Not you. You always wanted to figure it out yourself. You look at me with determination and you say, Mom, I can do it. And somehow you did. There was blood, there were bruises, bandages, but you did it. The same thing happened with roller skating. Most people wobble and stumble. Not you, Herman. You taught yourself. I remember taking you to the skating rink and putting those rented skates on your feet, and you just took off. You skated so effortlessly, it looked like you had been doing that your whole life. Again and again, your answer was the same. Mom, I can do it. I can do it, Mom. And most of the time you could. That independent spirit followed you throughout your life. Sometimes it worried me as your mother. Sometimes I wished you'd ask for help more often, but I always admired it. You weren't afraid of challenges. You weren't afraid to learn. You weren't afraid to trust that with God's help, you would be able to figure things out. One of the things I cherish about you most was your generosity. Oh, you had such a generous heart. You were never wealthy. Often there was not enough, but you would share the very shirt off your back. You weren't the kind of person who gave gifts just because a holiday appeared on the calendar. Because I remember holidays that I wanted a gift from you. I expected a gift from you, but you didn't give me one and you didn't say anything. But then there were those times when there was no occasion. You paid attention. You noticed what people needed, especially me. You'd quietly observe something that needed replacing, or something I mentioned in passing, or something that would make my life easier. And then out of nowhere, there would be a gift, a card with money sent unexpectedly. You always gave practical gifts. I wanted the girly gifts, but you were a practical gift giver. You gave loving gifts. You were always looking for ways to care for people. One of the last gifts you gave me right before you left me was a substantial amount of money toward my new washer and dryer. At the time, it felt like another one of Herman's very thoughtful acts of kindness, one of his acts of generosity. But today, it feels like something way more precious. It's one more reminder of your love, one more reminder that even near the end, you were always thinking about others. You were thinking about me. That's who you were, a giver, a provider, a son who loved his mother, a father who loved his son, and a man who loved God. And while there are many things I miss about you, Herman, perhaps what I miss most is hearing your voice say, Mom, I can do it. Or the way you always greeted me. Hey, Mom. And the truth is, son, you did do it. You lived, you loved, you served, you gave, you believed, you made a difference, and you left this world better than you found it. What more could a mother ask for? I love you. I miss you. And I thank God for the privilege of being your mom. I often say this, I got to be Herman's mom. The world feels different now. Holidays feel different. Music hits differently. A mother's heart never stops looking for her child. But grief has taught me something, that love doesn't end. Relationships change, but love remains. And today I celebrate you. I thank God for every one of those 46 years. I thank God for every laugh, every lesson, every memory, every hug, every conversation, even the difficult ones. Every time I got to see you and hear you play your viola, every symphony concert, every audition where I was nervous and you seemed so cool and calm, and I was nervous, curled up in a fetal position as you auditioned. I thank God for every hey mom and every moment I got to be your mom. You will always be a part of my story. You will always, always be loved. And now I want to talk to my other son, the one who still answers when I call. Well, most of the time, most of the time anyway, Brandon, my son, my younger son. What a joy it has been watching you grow into the man you are today. I can't believe it has been 45 years. A husband, a father of four, a provider, a protector, a leader. You are a man of character. You know, parents spend years wondering if all those talks, lectures, nagging, as you would call it, reminders, warnings, punishments, and yes, spanking sometimes. We wonder if all those things are working. Then one day you look at your grown child and you realize maybe they were listening after all. You've built a beautiful family, Brandon. And I want you to know something. And I don't want you to forget the words that I share with you today. I am so proud of you. Not because you're perfect, not because life has been easy. I definitely know it hasn't. Not because you always know what to do. You're often befuddled and don't know what to do or if what you did was the right thing, but because you keep showing up. You keep loving, you keep trying, you keep getting back up when you fail. You keep carrying responsibilities that many people never, ever see. That's what fathers do. Now, Brandon, I have so many stories I could share about you, but maybe I'll just mention one or two. Because, you know, no child gets through life without giving their mom material and moments to embarrass their child. That's why you're here. That's why we gave birth to you, so that we have these moments to embarrass you. So your artistic gifts were seen early. Not only was your creativity seen in visual arts, but you expressed yourself in humor and heartfelt words. I still have the cards you made for me when you were in elementary school. But finally, I remember clearly the day came when those beautiful handmade cards stopped and the store-bought cards began. I hated to see that day. I remember the one card that you gave me. I should have taken those cards out. Anyway, one card. You were so creative. You folded the paper, you cut it, and you held the two pieces of paper together with safety pins going down the side. Who would have done that besides you? I have all of your cards. You were aggressive on the football field. Your confidence and determination on the field could move mountains. Unfortunately, it couldn't clean your room. You needed to clean your room. Somehow, socks and underwear still ended up everywhere. Brandon, I know life has not been easy. I know you've experienced loss. I know you've experienced disappointment. I know you've experienced trauma. I know. I know you've carried burdens that nobody else could see. But I want you to remember this. God uses your imperfections to shape you into the man he wants you to be. The people who love you don't need you to be perfect. I don't need you to be perfect. By the way, I'm so glad you don't need me to be perfect, but we need you to be present, imperfections and all. So as I sit here, I want you to know again that I'm proud of you, not just because of what you've accomplished, not just because of what you built, but because of the man that you've become. You are father of my 4 beautiful grandchildren, and what a blessing it has been to watch you as their dad. I've watched you love them, protect them, tease them, give them a hard time, guide them. I know you worry about them, and I know you pray about them. You dream for them. And every parent listening knows that once you become a parent, a piece of your heart walks around outside your body every day. You carry that responsibility seriously. You think about their future. You think about the influences other than you and your wife. You think about the world that they're growing up in. And you have often shared with me how that concerns you, how they don't have to face the situations that you face or even I face. You think about what kind of adult they will become, and that concern comes from your love. You're a committed husband, and in a world where commitment is often treated casually, you continue to show up for your family day after day, year after year, not perfectly. None of us do, but faithfully. And faithfulness matters more than grand gestures, more than impressive speeches, more than appearances. Faithfulness is what holds families together. One of the things I've always admired about you is how naturally people are drawn to you. You've always been a people person. Even as a young boy, you could strike up a conversation with almost anyone. You have a warmth that puts people at ease. You have a kindness that makes people feel comfortable. And because of that, people gravitate toward you. I've watched the gravitation. It's amazing. They trust you. They enjoy being around you. They feel valued in your presence. You remind me a little of your brother in that way. Both of you inherited the gift of loving people. And there's something else about you that I think many people may not see. You have both sympathy and empathy. You don't just hear people's problems, you feel them. You care deeply about what others are experiencing, sometimes so deeply that you neglect your own needs while taking care of everyone else's. As your mom, I see that. I know you. I know that. And while it's one of your greatest strengths, it's also why I want to encourage you today. Take care of yourself too. You matter too. The people you love need you healthy. They need you rested. They need you strong. You cannot pour endlessly from an empty cup. Let me repeat that. You cannot pour endlessly from an empty cup. Even Jesus stopped to rest. And sometimes the strongest thing a man can do is pause long enough to care for himself. I've also always been amazed by your creativity. As I mentioned, you can see possibilities where other people see problems. You can repair things that seem broken. You can build furniture from an idea. You transform spaces. You have gifted hands and an imaginative mind. God gave you the ability to create, and you've used those gifts throughout your entire life. But the thing I admire most isn't what you build with your hands, Brandon. It's what you build with your life. You are building a family. You are building a legacy. You are building memories. You are building character in your children. You are building relationships that matter. And those things are the things that last. Most importantly, you love God. And always remember, He loves you unconditionally. You are committed to living a life that honors God. You genuinely want your life to matter, to have meaning. You want your work to matter. You want your family to flourish. You want your choices to please God. And as your mother, there's no greater joy than seeing that desire in your heart. I know life hasn't been easy. I know you've carried burdens. I know you've walked through the losses. I know you've experienced heartbreak. But I also know this: God is not finished with your story. There is still purpose ahead. There are still lives you will touch, and there are still lessons you will teach. There are still prayers that will be answered, and there are still blessings with your name on them. So today, on Father's Day, I want to say something every father needs to hear. Every father, I'm talking to you. You are appreciated. You are valued. You are loved. You are making a difference. Hang in there. I am grateful, Brandon, to be your mom. I am Brandon's mom. I am Herman's mom. What greater title is there? Although I thought I was getting a daughter, I did. They told me about, the doctor said when UK started to come out, all this hair, all this beautiful hair came out first. It's a girl. It's a girl. I just knew it was a girl. But if I had the privilege of choosing, I would choose you all over again. Happy Father's Day, Brandon. I love you more than words can express. People often ask me how I survived losing a son. The truth is, I didn't survive it. I'm not surviving it alone. God is carrying me. My family is carrying me. Your Uncle Jimmy carries me. And Brandon, whether you know it or not, you carry me too. While I'm grieving the son I lost, I am so grateful every day for the son who remained. One son taught me how precious life is. The other reminds me every day how life is still worth living. As I think about Herman, as I think about you, I realize that you have taught me many important lessons. You've taught me to love people while I'm still here. Say the words, give the hug, make the phone call. Don't assume that you'll have another chance. Ordinary moments become extraordinary memories. The things we remember aren't usually the big events. They're the conversations, the jokes, the meals, the random moments that seem insignificant at the time. Being a father is one of the most important jobs in the world. Children watch everything. They watch how you treat people, how you handle disappointment, how you love, how you forgive, how you get back up when life knocks you down. Strength isn't the absence of emotion. Real strength is loving deeply. Real strength is showing up. Real strength is staying when things get hard. Real strength is continuing after loss. So, to every father listening today, you may think nobody notices, but they do. Your children notice, your family notices, your community notices, your presence matters, your words matter, your example matters. You don't have to be a perfect father because there are no perfect fathers. You simply have to keep showing up, keep loving, keep listening, keep learning, keep growing. And if your children are grown, keep calling even if they don't call you back. They may act like they don't need you, but they do. Trust me, they still do. So today, on Father's Day 2026, I celebrate both my sons, Herman and Brandon. Thank you, Herman, for the joy you brought to this world. Thank you for the son that you fathered. Thank you for the lives that you touched. Thank you for making me your mom. And Brandon, thank you for the man you've become. Thank you for your strength. Thank you for your love for your family. Thank you for continuing to write your story. And to both of you, you have blessed my life beyond measure. One son I hold in my arms no longer, and one son I can still hug. But a mother's love reaches both today, tomorrow, and forever. Happy Father's Day, my sons. I love you, and I thank God for both of you. I want to close with this scripture in Psalm 103, verse 13. As a father has compassion on his children, so the Lord has compassion on those who fear him. To every father, stepfather, spiritual father, every coach, every mentor, every man who has given of themselves to the next generation, may God, our Heavenly Father, bless you abundantly. Happy Father's Day, and I'll see you next time.